Get ready and start your engines for our 5th annual Aviation Month with our guest Rod Rakic of OpenAirplane and FlyOtto. Welcome to Savvy Business Radio's 5th annual Aviation Month, and I'm super excited to have Rod Rakic with us of OpenAirplane and FlyOtto, his new company. It's super exciting to have you out here today. Before we get started going into the depth of how you got this business rolling, what was the inspiration for creating both OpenAirplane and FlyOtto?
Well, this is one of those businesses that didn't start out as a business. OpenAirplane was us scratching our own back. We're pilots, we rent airplanes, we use general aviation for travel and for fun, and we wanted more people to have that superpower.
Yeah. And I saw that. See, I was just telling you before the interview how cool it was. A couple months ago, we could have used OpenAirplane because we need an airplane pretty quickly. And what's really awesome if you are a pilot is you can just go to OpenAirplane.com, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, and they can just go and check out. And now if you're checked out in New York and say you're going to go to Florida and you need to check out an airplane there, you don't need to get a certified flight instructor to check you out, make sure that you're up to speed. You can just, if they're in the network, get an airplane in Florida if they're in the OpenAirplane network, correct?
Right. We built OpenAirplane.com to make renting an airplane as easy as renting a car. So we offer a universal pilot checkout. And the UPC does 3 things. It resets the clock on the flight review. It earns the pilot a discount on their insurance, and it gives them access to the same make, model aircraft all across the country.
Wow, that's fabulous. Now, I thought for years when I was traveling with Brian, how cool would it be to have something like this technology? But now you've created something for the average folk. Now, most of the people in our audience are not pilots. So this is what's really super cool about FlyOtto is that you don't need to be a pilot to take advantage of all the airports, and there's a lot of them in the United States, where you can fly across the United States without having to do it commercially. Share with us a little bit about that.
So we built FlyOtto.com to match travelers with professional pilots and certified aircraft on demand.
Wow, that's fabulous. So, I'm thinking a lot of people in my audience is like, no, that's only for the super rich, for Donald Trump. I mean, and a lot of people won't even know what it means by charter. What does that mean? Share that.
So, commercial airlines are built on this kind of hub and spoke system, and there are about 300 airports that you can buy an airline ticket to.
Yeah.
The secret we want to tell everyone else is that there are over 5,000 public use airports in the U.S. and you can fly to them directly if you have access to private aviation, whether if you're flying yourself by using OpenAirplane.com or if you charter an airplane where we can have a professional pilot and an airplane waiting for you at the airport to take you directly to where you want to go on demand.
That's just amazing. And it doesn't have to cost a lot. What I've seen by looking at your website is they just go onto your website and they plug in the city they want to go to, and then it shows you all the airports nearby that they can go to and get chartered and get an airplane to fly them somewhere.
Right. So we're not using jets. We're using single engine piston airplanes, turboprop airplanes, planes that are a lot less expensive to operate. So they're really valuable because now for prices that really can sometimes beat the airlines, they can almost always beat the airlines in trips less than 500 miles in terms of time door to door. But we can often beat the airlines in terms of a per seat cost. So for the same amount of money you would spend per seat booking an airline ticket for, say, a business or first class ticket, we can fly private. You can fly on your own schedule. And it's a much better experience.
Yeah, and that's what people don't realize, the joy and amazingness of general aviation that I've gotten. Brian laughs because he's my pilot and he drives me to, or flies me to corporate meetings and such. And I come in all fresh and I've been, doing my business meeting stuff in the back and making calls if possible. And people don't realize when you're in general aviation plane, you've got those options and you get things done in your own time frame. If you go to Kennedy Airport, you got to be there an hour ahead of time. You got to go through security. And there's all of that. Here you just show up, get on your airplane, and you're off to go.
For anyone running a business, time is really valuable. And we can give you back that time.
Yeah.
But it used to be one of those things that was really sort of tough to get access to. General aviation, you sort of had to know somebody in the business. And we've sort of taken away that friction. Now at the push of a button at FlyOtto.com, you simply tell us, where do you want to be picked up? Where do you want to go? and we'll immediately give you pricing, flight times, seats available, and those trips can be a lot more competitive. You know, we're talking about trips like Miami to Key West for a little over $1,000, $1,500 to go from New York to Martha's Vineyard. You know, places that are just not well serviced by the airlines, but business owners often need to go there.
Yeah, and what's cool about it, say you're going even in just 2 seats in the back, 1 seat in the front, if you split that between 3 business folks and you split that bill of $1,000, then you're definitely paying less than you would in commercial aviation.
It's a real competitive advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. And a time saver, money saver, all of that. Now, when you got started, was it hard? Because this is what I found interesting. You really hit the pavement in the beginning. This is what I really liked. A lot of business owners tell me, hey, this is much harder than I thought it would be. When I got started, I saw other businesses kind of look like they came out of the gate super successful, but what they don't see is the hard work in the background, and you've done a lot of hard work hitting the pavement to make this happen. Share that journey a little bit with us.
So we started OpenAirplane in 2013 to try to make everyone's pilot certificate more valuable. And so we needed to create a two-sided marketplace. And there is a lot of technology that has to happen in order to be able to unlock this kind of value. And so we built software and we built technology, but that was only half the equation. The other half is distribution. And that usually doesn't come out of a box of software. It comes from relationships with real people and with business owners. And so there was a lot of travel and advocacy that we had to do to be able to build a network. So when we started, we had 6 locations across the U.S. where you could rent an airplane. We now have just under 100, over 340 aircraft available. And these are all small businesses around that are in communities all around the U.S. And you know, it was building those relationships that allowed us to launch FlyOtto last month, because we have these relationships in place with folks that are not only running flight schools, but they also have charter operations. And so we were able to launch a nationwide product where you can book a plane to almost every public use airport across the U.S. at the push of a button.
That's just amazing. It's just amazing. And that's what I really like that you mentioned, the relationship. One thing I didn't realize when I got started is I really started with a consulting business. I came out of corporate doing it for 20 years. I thought it should be a piece of cake for me to get clients like this. I initially called all the past corporations I worked with, and they're like, yeah, we're good. And then I was out of it. I had no other contacts. So then I had to start and build those contacts, and it took me a year to start building contacts and get them going. And then even with the show, it took us time to build advertisers and stuff. And so that's the key thing I'm getting from you, is that it's really building relationships in the beginning. Would you agree?
Right, because in the sharing economy especially, where you're talking about, you know, helping businesses get better utilization of a good, access latent demand. You know, folks don't even know that they want to charter an airplane a lot because they don't know where the airports are. And
they don't even know what charter means, that it's an option for people that are not super rich.
So if we can enable these businesses to trust us like we have with the rental side of our business, we can unlock a lot of demand, help them fly more, bring in more revenue, be more successful as businesses, and that's what we're here to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because I told you before the interview that me and my partner have taken people flying in general aviation, and there's so many airports, over 5,000. And when we take people flying, wherever we're traveling, we say, hey, we'll take you up. They're like, wow, there's this many airports around here? I'm like, yeah. There's over 5,000 that you have access to as, you know, as a civilian, that you can just travel in. And so you've got that option in the United States. The United States is the place, if you're in general aviation, to live, because we've got the most freedoms, the most airports, and it's just awesome.
It's one of the problems we solved with FlyOtto.com. Instead of asking someone to type in an airport code, we're actually guiding the user to tell us where they would like to be picked up. So really it's about putting in an origin and a destination, real places, real towns and cities, and then the algorithm that we've built actually will guess at what's the best general aviation airport for that destination. And so instead of locking into the big airports that people might know in their head is the only way to get somewhere. We might be able to find a much more convenient airport that just they didn't know about. And so we do all that filtering, we do all that in the background and in real time to make sure that we can offer up the best way to get somewhere.
Yeah, and I've heard it compared to like Uber of the air. So you just go on your phone and go to FlyOtto.com, correct?
Yes.
And bam, just put in the city you're going to, and they'll give you options of what the best airports are around you that would have access, open airplanes for you to rent.
And we do the same thing on OpenAirplane.com. If you want to rent an airplane, again, you tell us where you want to rent, where you want to fly. That's the only question on the homepage. Now with FlyOtto.com, the only questions are really two. Where would you like to be picked up? Where would you like to go?
Yes.
And that will then give you a map, and we'll draw a line on the map, and we'll do our best to guess the best airport. Now, you can click around on the map and find other locations that might be a better location, and when you change the origin or destination in real time, it'll reprice the trip, because the search results will tell you here are a number of different aircraft with different numbers of seats. They fly at different speeds and they cost different amounts of money to fly, and so we'll be able to let you choose what's the best level of service for you for your trip. And then once you've made that choice, we'll take you to another page where you tell us when do you want to be picked up, who's going to be coming along, and go ahead and request the trip.
And here is the best option that I found for FlyOtto, and that is, say you're a pet owner and you're like, oh, the commercial airline said my pet can't come on board, and oh, I can't leave my little Sammy behind. Well, you don't have to worry. With FlyOtto, you can bring your pet with you.
General aviation is very pet friendly, and so flying on a commercial airliner with hundreds of other people, that can be problematic if you've got even the best behaved pet. And if it's a large pet, then they're going to be riding in a cargo hold, which, that's kind of sad. So we wanted to be able to make that a much better experience, not only for the pet owner, but for the pet itself.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And what have you found in the growth of growing both your business has been like the major hurdle that you've overcome?
Well, if there's one innovation that we've had is a lot of people, when we talked about the idea of, well, let's make renting an airplane easier, a lot of pilots were really excited about that idea, but they would tell us, well, the insurance carriers will never let you do it, right? There's always some preconceived notion of why an idea won't work. And, they might be right, but what we did is we actually went to the people that everyone told us would tell us no with a plan, and we got them to understand how our plan could really, help people, make their businesses better, be able to offer a service that was more valuable than what's been there before. That's really the power of the sharing economy, and that's something that's really driven us.
Yes, and that is something that I'm seeing going more and more popular, is the sharing economy, because in this economy we can all help each other grow, and that's part of the premise of Savvy, is that as a community of business owners, we all don't have the expertise in everything, but we have expertise in what we're good at, so we can share that with the business community and all gain from it, and that's exactly what you're doing. And that's just fabulous. Now, when you did that and you got the insurance companies on board, what I'm getting from that I really like is that often people will stop at a great idea and say, no, that won't work because of this. But some of the greatest businesses that take off is because they went further and didn't accept the first no.
Right. We did get a lot of folks who told us that, let us know how that goes, right? But they weren't ready to sign up. In fact, Lloyd's of London is pretty famous for insuring anything and everyone.
Wow.
But they told us no when we were looking for insurance for our company. It took us 6 months to figure out how to partner with the right insurance carrier that understood the kind of business we were in and how we had really mitigated a lot of the risks. Again, it wasn't just stopping because, the first no meant that it was impossible. It was just hard. But it was worth it because now we've got this, ability to rent aircraft all across the U.S. Now we have this ability to push a button. FlyOtto.com, you don't even have to download an app. You just go to FlyOtto.com on any device, a smartphone, tablet, desktop computer, and now you can have the same superpower that, we who fly airplanes and our pilots and are in this community enjoy and frankly tell everyone about all the time ad nauseum.
Stop talking about it.
But we're just excited about it because it's pretty amazing, and it's made our lives better, and now we can share that with everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's absolutely true. And the not stopping at a no is perfect. I heard J.K. Rowling got 200 no's before she got a yes. So that's a lot of hitting it until you get a yes. And if there's a great need out there, you will find a taker sometimes and push it through the door. It just takes that tenacity to keep pushing behind the idea, and know that if you keep at it and don't accept a no, that you can make it happen. And now, look at this. We have a wonderful service that we've all needed and is now existed. So that's fabulous. Thank you so much for that, for keeping out there before you didn't take a no. Now, what brought you to the world of aviation in particular?
So I've been flying since I was 16 years old.
Yeah.
I'm still learning.
But always a pilot, always learning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I started as a Civil Air Patrol cadet. When I was still in high school, worked after-school jobs in fast food to pay for flight training, paid for all my own flight training. Worked at flight schools, was an office manager for a flight school during college. And so I understood sort of the business of running these kinds of operations. And I was always a renter pilot. So I also understood sort of the problem that we were trying to solve.
Yeah.
And so being someone who just always knew he had to fly, aviation is like a bloodborne pathogen. Once it's there, you can spread it, but it's hard to get out of your blood.
Yes.
And so, we're here trying to make what's an amazing superpower available to, many more people. There are about 600,000 pilots in the U.S. But there are about 10 million Americans that could travel this way with FlyOtto.
So here's the cool part. You're not only helping the industry of flyers, you're helping anyone who wants to fly. So here you're connecting the people who need to fly somewhere and then pilots who could use more jobs and growth. So you're helping both sides. It's awesome.
Anyone who's about to get on the highway for 4 to 6 hours, anyone's going to spend most of the day in airport terminals and big commercial airports, flying on a regional airline because that's what they think is their only option, can just go to flyotto.com and see if we can offer a better choice.
Wow. And you mentioned before we got started with the interview, or right when we started the interview, that you worked in corporate and then left to start OpenAirplane. What was the epitome of I need to start my own business? Did you just wake up one day and said, I'm going to leave, or what happened?
So we're in a community of businesses that are in this kind of startup mode, and a lot of people are really excited about the idea about having or being part of a startup. That wasn't me. I had a great job with a steady paycheck, and this was a problem that really just started out as a project to solve a problem, right? Too many people get wrapped around the axle with the idea that they need to be in a startup, right? And not be really passionate about solving a problem, right? They start, down the path of being an entrepreneur without knowing why they're doing it, other than the fact that they want to be entrepreneurs. In our case, we had a problem that we wanted to solve. It sort of started as a nights and weekends project, and then it evolved from there, and then it became a company, and then, we bootstrapped it for 3 years. We raised some seed capital earlier this year, and that allowed us to be able to, go out and build something bigger.
What's really awesome about what I'm picking up from you is that it's true. A lot of business owners I've talked to in the past were like, I have this great passion. Everyone should want it. Like you were talking about, this great app. Everyone should want this app. It's just fabulous. But just because it is fabulous, is there a need for it? Do people want, and if there is a need, do people know that you exist or the product exists? So that's when distribution and getting the word out is so important. But it's awesome that you came at it from, okay, here's the need. How do I create a solution for it? And then you used your gift and talents to make that happen. And I think that's just the right recipe for making any business owner or any entrepreneur successful, is coming at it from first, what is my passion, but then how do I meet a need with the passion and gifts I have?
Especially people who build technology businesses, they see a lot of value in the creation of the technology, and because that's what they know what to do. The thing that we've learned is that you really have to spend just as much time working on the distribution part of the problem as the technology part of the problem. Otherwise, you won't have a business. You'll have a technology, you'll have some code, but you need to have that distribution in place to let people know that it exists, to be able to connect with the right audience that need to, use what you're building to solve a real problem in order to actually have a business. And and it sometimes isn't very clear until you're sort of, through the process.
Yeah. But how do you get a handle anyone if they're not, like, it's not their forte to do marketing or sales? Was it hard for you to go and do those components?
Well, one thing I learned is that hating your day job is not a business plan. But you don't need to spend a lot of time planning, right? You just have to understand what's the problem you want to solve, what are the resources you need to be able to solve it, how to connect with, the audience and the community that needs that problem solved, and you break that up into a lot of small pieces. This is that whole lean startup kind of methodology that a lot of people smarter than me talk about. But it really helped me understand that we were building something that people wanted instead of spending a lot of time and a lot of effort, a lot of nights and weekends building something that no one was going to use.
Yeah, yeah. And also you told me before the interview that you and your partner got out there and hit the pavement and drove like some 10,000 miles, hitting all the airports, getting them to know who you are. And as we talked about, going back to the building of relationships that is so important in building a business. And I think that's something that often business owners, especially when they're new, don't think about enough, is that the importance of really building a relationship, because people are not going to just hand you over their wallet unless they know that they know, like, and trust you and you have something they need, want, or desire.
Well, we've not had anyone hand over their wallet yet.
Their credit card, perhaps?
But they do sign up and they put their credit card online with us so that we can make it easy for them to pay for the flight, whether they're renting an airplane or whether they're chartering a plane on a trip. And the way we got there was to be able to build the supply side of this dual-sided marketplace, and that meant building relationships. So in April, we rented a car in Maine and we drove to Miami, stopping at all these great little general aviation airports along the East Coast and having conversations with people. Again, this was happening while the engineering team was, back building the platform that people could use, but that platform wasn't going to be very useful to folks unless they could find an airplane, whether it was an airplane that they wanted to rent on OpenAirplane.com or an airplane they wanted to charter on FlyOtto.com. The technology and the distribution really come together to make that all work.
Yeah, yeah. And you had to, and I've heard people do that. Some business owners said, I had the idea. I first went out there to get the business to see if there was enough need for it while it was even being created. And yeah, it just makes total sense.
Startups sometimes have to fuel the engines while they're finishing bolting the capsule together at the top of the rocket ship.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. How has the reception been for some of the non-pilots who have tried FlyOtto? What has been some of the feedback?
A lot of shock and amazement, because they've just never considered this as a possible thing, right? They don't understand that there's a way to fill the gap between a kind of a crummy road trip or even crummier experience with commercial air travel.
Yeah.
And so they're just shocked to find out that there was an airport that was way closer to the one that they've typically driven to when they need to fly somewhere. Yeah. They're amazed that it doesn't have to cost tens of thousands of dollars to charter an airplane. Because when you say charter an airplane, folks will typically just immediately, go to that place in their head of this is a jet with, two guys up front and air stairs and catering and a flight attendant, and there's probably like a tiger on a gold leash and maybe some kind of supercar parked out front. Yeah. That's not what general aviation really is about. It's about, business people getting work done.
Yes.
This is a superpower to be able to get that work done. But, there's only typically a small part of any large company that can access that power, right? Yeah. You have to be a CMO or a CEO or something like that. Yeah. What we want to do is we want to create access for a larger band of professionals, right? If you're an engineer, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you have to work for a living, but you can travel on your own schedule, at a price that's affordable and really just get more value out of aviation.
Yeah, and I found that to be the case for myself. Traveling business or pleasure, it cuts down having, as we said earlier, to having to go to the commercial airport, check in, get your bags checked in, all that jazz. Now we just waltz out. Hey, we woke up at 11. Let's get some dinner or lunch before we go to the airport and pick up our plane and leave. It allows you to work on your schedule, and time is money, and so it will give you just that, give you your time back, because that you can't get back. As I say to people who are like, well, I just want the cheaper price. I want to fly JetBlue because it's cheaper. Great. Is your time worth more than your money? Then go for it. But for me, my time is a lot, I can get more money, but I can't get my time back.
Right. That's the one resource that we all need more of.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is a way to access it. And it doesn't have to be, really expensive. It doesn't have to be hard. It used to be you had to reach out to a broker, and then you'd spend 45 minutes to 4 hours waiting around to get an email back about the price of a trip. And now, we don't need to know somebody. We can just go to flyotto.com and get the question answered. How much will this trip cost? How fast can I get there? And how many seats would be available on that airplane in real time? So now flying private can be really an impulse purchase. It's never been an impulse purchase before.
And I love that. That's absolutely awesome. Where's your vision for FlyOtto and even OpenAirplane in the year to come?
Well, these are some really great folks that we get to work with, both in renting airplanes. They're typically running flight schools, they're running flying clubs, they're individual aircraft owners that want to have more utilization of their airplanes, and the more they fly, the more money they'll make, and the better the aircraft will perform. There's really a lot of good from what we're creating, because we're creating more flight hours. On the charter side, the big challenge has been how to access new customers, right? How to do that at scale. And so now we can create a world where, being a professional pilot doesn't mean having to go work for an airline. We can create real quality jobs in aviation at this level for small businesses all across the U.S. and communities everywhere.
That's just wonderful. Well, I want to thank you again for coming to Savvy Business Radio, and everyone go to OpenAirplane.com and FlyOtto.com, correct?
Yep, FLYOTTO.com.
Well, thank you. I want to thank you again for coming, Rod, to Savvy Business Radio to our 5th annual Aviation Month.
Great to be here, Christina. Thanks so much.